This week in the news. The Stop Killing Games campaign passes the signature threshold. Highguard's website goes down. Lords of the Fallen 2's Steam launch might be close. And more on this week's All Man Rages at the News. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content. And we're starting this week with some good news. The reps for the Stop Killing Games initiative will be talking to the EU Commission. This came from Ross's Accursed Farms channel, where he made a short announcement for the campaign. The signatures were verified and the campaign officially passed the threshold, with representatives presenting their case to the EU Commission on the 23rd of February, aka the day of posting this video. Additionally, the legal expert Alberto Hidalgo Cerezo, I hope I didn't butcher that one, will be with them as well to give an explanation of why publishers destroying games is bad. I don't know why they need a legal expert to tell the commission that taking away products from consumers is bad, but if it helps them, more power to them. I mean, in hindsight, it might need to have a legal explanation why it's bad. Anyway, if they need the guy, by all means, whatever gets the job done at this point. Q Koiser, yeah, another name that I managed to butcher, most likely, will also be there, and they are a major French consumer activists. Ross was asked to attend a press conference after the meeting. He was also told that Josh Strife-Hayes and The Clock will be attending this as well, so we are all in good hands. He did also mention an additional update video the very next day, going over information he was told to keep to himself. I recommend going over and watching the video if you want to know more about it, since there isn't a good way to pack that information in a small format without bloating the video. I mean, he also does explain it much better than I ever could, so, you know, video's gonna be in the description or in the sources, wherever I remember putting it. Have a watch if you want to know more about what's happening. So, somehow I managed to miss this. Apparently, the creator of Super Meat Boy, Edmund McMillan, alongside Tyler Glale, made a new game called Mewgenics, and there were people complaining about its cameos. People really find anything to complain about these days. Yeah, I know, that's rich coming from me. And yes, this thread right here has a problem with Ethan and Gila Klein being in the game because of their political views. Gotta love how politics rotted people's brains so much to the point where that's the only thing they care about. Even showing one of Hassan Palpatine Piker's videos as evidence. Shocking, I know. Macmillan does have a response. And to quote him, "When we added most of the people on the list, it was ages ago. Like Ethan was included a good 4 years back. I wanted the game to feature a huge array of iconic voices I've been hearing echoing across the internet for most of my time making games. As some probably noticed, it was pretty all over the place when it came to cameos, and I did my best to include and keep ones that clashed or kinda counterbalanced each other." Yes, Ethan was added before the internet started having a problem with him. Mind you, here he mentions how iDubbbz was added as well, while also adding, "I made sure to contact both to make sure they were okay with the other's involvement, so it didn't feel like a weird gotcha on release. They were both very adult about it and said they had no issues with the other being added, and I really respected that, since I know they have been publicly feuding for a while now." Yep, the adult consented, but apparently the internet didn't. Or the terminally online part of it didn't. Another thing that he said, which basically is a form of fuck off, is this. "If I only included people who share the same exact opinions as me, I'd be the only one meowing in the game. I included Chris, but also Liquid Chris. Those who know. I didn't realize Matten was controversial. I mean, a lot of these people are characters doing bits. Glad this dude is standing up for his game and not bending the knee. It's also worth noting that he wanted to hire the Chinese translator because of how popular the game became in China. Dude handed out a job as a thank you for free work, and the dark side of the internet had a problem with him. Ah, fucking clowns. Quick correction: while editing, I realized that while writing this story, I kept referring to the gamer as Kotaku. Yeah, their writing's so bad that I can't distinguish between the gamer and Kotaku while the website was in front of me. Moving on, Kotaku wanted to jump in and explain why gaming feels bad these days. Oh boy, let's see what slop Kotaku decided to spew out. Now, before we start, apparently the journalist's parents' address exposed and got DM'd by anonymous people. I can't believe I have to say this, but don't go harassing these individuals. It's fine to make fun of them, but do not look for people's personal information to threaten them. Best way to handle something like this, where somebody decides to spew shit out on the internet, is to take a page out of their book and character assassinate them, aka make them look like a complete idiot. Now, going into the article, he has a problem with the industry being a gamble if it will succeed or not. Well, newsflash, that's how everything works. That's why the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, applies heavily here. Even you yourself pointed out here at the end with the corporate overlords make your whole point redundant at best. His second point is that we shouldn't be happy with things failing. Alright, let's take a closer look at this point. Here he mentions Highguard and how it was basically slaughtered, and another game he mentions is 2XKO. Alright, hate to break it to you, Chief. Not every game can pull off a No Man's Sky. If the consumers don't like the product, they can and will refuse to interact with said product. That's a simple fact. In fact, gaming companies should learn why a game failed and actively try the opposite, which, fun fact, Highguard didn't do. Well, not surprising considering the writer here is also a self-admitted hypocrite, so yet again, proving that Kotaku is the last place I want an explanation on this topic. His last point is that we don't need to be such downers. His very first statement is, and I quote, "As much as we love this art form, there are people whose entire lives revolve around funding video games to get angry at. And it does have a negative effect. As I said earlier, it feels like some fans will watch a trailer and just decide a game isn't just bad, it's horrifying moral evil that must be slammed out. Between videos about the actual features of a game, you have to wade through a swamp of YouTube videos about how a company killed a franchise by not giving the lead character the face and body of a Bratz doll." Oh boy. First of all, there are people who make their whole life about finding games to get angry about them. This guy works for said people. Second, that's what trailers are for. It's not made for eye candy, and I have a deja vu, it's like I said it before. Third and finally, I will use the Knight's Path poll here to point out that only a few people actually want a 10 out of 10 bombshell. Most people want natural beauty, like the cashier at your local Walmart type of beautiful, unless, well, I don't know, maybe a stretch. I don't know, never been to a Walmart myself. But then again, Kotaku journalists are so stuck in their view that they can't fathom that even for a second. One final thing I'll cover for this article is, and I quote, "In a world in which so many people in video games are struggling to make ends meet, it's so annoying to have so much negative content. Chief, this is more of a self-report than you realize. The way people see the world is by the people and topics they surround themselves with. If you look at purely negative stuff, you'll be mostly negative. The same goes for positive. And that can also lead to negative positivity. aka the shit that we get when somebody decides to say, well, make a butt ugly character. The people around them are like, yay, you do good. And all of a sudden, the game that the character is based on flops harder than a whale on the beach. Now, I know this is rocket science for the majority of people who write for Kotaku, but, try at least for a week. Might end up writing better articles that way instead of sticking your head in the ground like an ostrich. Moving on, the Highguard website is down. Sadly, or thankfully, depending on which side you're on, the website is back. Well, they did manage to outlast Concord, so far that's something, I guess. Mind you, people found out the game was backed by Tencent. Yep, the Chinese big boy was funding this slop of a game. And this was reported by Steven Totillo of Game Files. Specifically, the TIMI studio group of the main studio backing up the game, which explains why in the past they weren't inclined to talk about their investors. Insider Gaming did also reach out for a comment, but shocking no one, they didn't get anything. It's funny to think about it, cause in hindsight, they 100% could have made something much better than another slop shooter. Ultimately, their biggest problem was the fact they hired a bunch of yes men that kept on glazing the game without being critical about it, and, well, the rest is history. Doubt that Tencent would make any money back considering how the player base actually is. Well, hopefully they make something, but not likely. It's most likely gonna be a tax write-off, let's be real. Moving on, the studio behind Lords of the Fallen are trying to get out of the Epic exclusivity deal in order to come to Steam. Absolute cinema. This came from Marek Tyminski's X account, where he tweeted out, "Today's extraordinary general meeting approved the proposed capital raise authorization, a key step forward. This flexibility allows the company to accelerate distribution channels and strengthen its position for upcoming releases, including Lords of the Fallen 2. Once executed, it positions CI games for higher potential profits and improved valuation. Pure win-win for shareholders and the company's short and long-term growth." This isn't the only instance where the CEO of CI Games shows he's listening to the community. You can see he shared not only Pirate Nation's tweet, but he also shared Dr. Disaster's video as well, saying on the latter, "We hear ya, we're delivering, and nothing will stop us." The man's winning free brownie points with ease these days. Now, why am I saying that? Well, you see, PlayStation decided to shut down Blue Point Game Studio, and the dude straight up invited him to work at his studio. This is the type of people I have respect for, and if only every CEO was like him. Yeah, I know. That's too big of an ask. I can dream though, can't I? Moving on, I wasn't expecting this, but The Guardian made an article about Steam with a title, "This Shouldn't Be Normal. Developers speak out about bigotry on Steam, the world's biggest PC gaming storefront." Alright, put The Guardian next to Kotaku in the disappointment category. In the first few minutes of the article, they claim that everyone is at each other's throats, and here I am wondering, where the fuck did they find this information? They specifically even say reviews, discussions, forums, and anywhere on Steam, and only provide this blue sky post, which, to the surprise of no one, barely got any traction, as well as reviews that were linked. Not only that, but people who actually used Steam for more than 2 months will realize most posts are just bait farm points. How Valve a while back banned the jester icon to prevent people from farming jesters. But, fuck it. Let's look at the posts that are linked. Oh, would you look at that? Both of them have been banned. Not only that, but they spin the Steam curators as... Wait, I actually have to quote this shit. It's so bad, it's actually good. And Steam curators, brackets self-appointed tastemakers of the platform, directing campaigns against gamers they perceive to lean left or pursue inclusion. Yep, that's what they wrote. I still can't believe they thought of this. And most importantly, where the fuck are they getting this from? Did they talk to somebody at Sweet Baby Inc. for crying out loud? If they're talking about the people who are anti-DI slob, then oh boy, they shot themselves in the foot. Let's not forget that most of those that are crying that, Steam is toxic and whatnot are just grifters, but I'm just speculating here based on what they wrote, Nothing concrete. When you go into the Steam forums of a game, you can pretty much figure out if somebody wants to force the game creator to, do something they don't want to. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Additionally, they also have a problem with the no woke groups. Seriously, you're gonna have a problem with a group that only has, 1,531 followers, while you admitted that Steam has millions of daily users. Not only that, but you have problems with its moderation. Oh boy. To me, this just screams that you actually don't care about the moderation and you just want whatever your opinion is to be enforced onto the platform. It's no fucking wonder why Valve didn't respond to your request, because most of this is just a slander piece, for fuck's sake. Well, let's get back to the No Woke group and read some of their reviews. The Gothic remake here has a negative review cause the studio promised to respect the original game and not change it. Yet, they changed things, which this group rightfully called out. Another remake that they called out is the Saints Row 3rd remake, which again had the same issues. So, with that out of the way, are you sure you want to stay on this hill, The Guardian? Now, to finish this piece of crap they wrote, I'll quote this because can't make this shit up at this point. Valve's refusal to moderate any of this is making Steam reviews and forums the battleground for some kind of culture war and is making them unsafe for marginalized people and regular gamers trying to simply enjoy the game they bought. Ugh. You know what? Rewind the video about 2 minutes ago, give or take. And you have evidence that they, in fact, moderate their platform. In fact, you'll be able to figure that out just by looking at the resource The Guardian used. So, yeah, The Guardian, please elaborate more on how Steam is a battleground for culture war. If that is an actual problem, you have to go for X and not Steam. Or better yet, start taking pot shots at Reddit, considering it's leaning dangerously on one side. You know what? Reddit is actually a lost cause at this point. Now, real question is, what are they trying to speak on behalf of here? Regular gamers? In fact, those very same regular gamers are people that work 9 to 5 just to come home and, relax, maybe play a game or something. Guardian, you're hella reaching with your arguments here. Not only that, but let me remind you the title of the article is Developers Speak Out About Bigotry on Steam, the world's biggest gaming storefront. And ends with, it is increasingly easy, however, for the average consumer to log on to Steam and encounter abuse, bigotry, and hate, much of which has been cleared by moderators. I mean, why did you make this article in the first place, you dipshits? As a matter of fact, what AI did you use to make this article in the first place? If all of your talking points are cleared by moderators, why do you even bother? Why am I wondering? It's ultimately a hit piece. This article, and I'm using the term here loosely, is like making an article about the Black Death and calling it a huge problem, even though it was more than 700 years ago. On the bright side, Valve got another W because they won their lawsuit against Lee Rothschild and his companies. Now, in case you don't know, this was a lawsuit against a copyright troll, and this most likely sets precedents, considering the jury found that Lee Rothschild violated Washington's Patent Troll Prevention Act with bad faith infringement claims and breached prior licensing agreements, which resulted in Valve getting $152,000 in damages. Now, yes, the patent troll did get what they deserve, and this can set precedents in the future against other patent trolls, which is the most important part. And I'd say that's always a good thing. Moving on, the Unity boss will be unveiling new Unity AI tech, which, quote, will enable developers to prompt full casual games into existence with natural language only, with probably a landslide of bugs too. You know, the full Bethesda experience in one go. The AI is allegedly supposed to lower the barrier to entry and democratize game development for non-coders. Wow, buzzwords that are probably not gonna happen. The CEO also added, our goal is to remove as much friction from the creative process as possible, becoming the universal bridge between that first spark of creativity and a successful, scalable, and enduring digital experience. Last time I checked, the only thing AI did was ruin employees' trust and not even give an increase in productivity. But hey, you know, third time's the charm, am I right? Right? Well, the answer is no. Because The Verge pointed out that after experimentation, it produced results much worse than actual handcrafted video games or interactive experiences. But don't worry, this is just wordplay, as even PC Gamer, and I can't believe I agree with them, specifically referred to it being casual games to temper expectations. Makes me wonder if Timmy Tencent over there got excited at the announcement. In other news, oh look, the Medieval Modern Audience game got a demo released for it. Coincidentally, it also managed to only peak at 122 players. Now, I get that not everyone wants to play a demo, but 122 players out of their 100,000 wish lists is, well, for lack of a better word, pathetic. This topic was even brought up on their general discussions. Now, wouldn't be surprised if it got deleted, honestly. Also, I'm pretty sure the community page is getting more action than the game itself at this point. Now, another community discussion I want to highlight is that someone called out the devs for deleting posts. Yes, they were deleting posts, and the devs replied with, because most of you aren't giving any feedback, just whining and attacking the studio. There are literally tons of posts with real feedback that are still available. And since this is Steam, there is a high likelihood of someone actually saying what I'm thinking. To quote Lazy Joe Beard, anyone who says they don't want to play the game for any reason is feedback. I do not want to play it because the lesbians are ugly. It's the consumers who buy it. Telling them their reasons for not wanting to is self-entitled because you are telling them their opinion is wrong on what they want to spend their money on, which you have no say in, nor does anyone else but the one whose money it is. Not only that, but this tweet here got 1.5k likes and 73.9k views, and it still only got 120 players all-time peak. Now, what I find funny here is the fact that the PlayStation account with nearly 17 million subscribers posted a behind the scenes for the game, and it got almost no traction with a crazy like to dislike ratio. And the cherry on top is that the comments are disabled. This game, when it launches, is gonna be like those 5 to 10 minutes before disaster strikes, and you know that everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And I'll be here to report on it. Moving on, Ubisoft's Q3 shows, quote, overperformance because of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Let's not forget the fact that the very same franchise is one of the bigger reasons why the studio got so bad in the first place. The company experienced a double-digit growth in the quarter, with net booking coming in at $338 million, a 12% increase from the previous fiscal year. Cool, let's celebrate that. But what about the whole state of the company? What about the people protesting the layoffs and Ubisoft not announcing sales numbers for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Let's not even forget to mention that their previous report, they clearly stated right here that net bookings for the third quarter of 2024 to 2025 totaled at 301 million euros, in line with the group's revised expectations of around 300 million euros and representing a decrease of 51.8%. Let's just ignore the important context here because, what's the 39% in the negative to Ubisoft, right? They're overperforming. Now, speaking of the Ubisoft layoffs, they laid off staff from Ubisoft Toronto, specifically around 40 people who were working on the remake of the original Splinter Cell. Mind you, 40 people isn't a lot for a studio, but for that specific studio, it makes up around 80% of the workforce. Yep, 80% of the studio gone just like that. And that can have a big impact on the remake. Ubisoft claims that the decision was not made lightly or in any way reflect on the talent's dedication or contribution to those individuals affected. But if that isn't the case, then they would find a way to keep those people. Now, let's be real here. Considering Ubisoft's current state, that's probably impossible. But then again, I'm just a layman watching from the sides how they burn. I'm not a business expert. Ubisoft also updated their terms of service, allowing them to delete user accounts. Because that's always a good idea, right? Back in 2023, they said that any accounts with purchases or subscriptions attached to them are not going to be deleted for inactivity. However, look at the clause for inactivity, which is 8.2. It's no longer there. But don't worry, they'll still find ways to add meaningless updates to their games, like a jump button in Assassin's Creed Shadows, something that's been in the gaming industry since, well, as far as I can remember, really, going all the way back to Super Mario, considering it had a dedicated jump button. Good job, Ubisoft, you're innovating, yeah! Moving on, an EFF expert says, there's no reason for Discord to comply in advance with social media verification laws. Alright, you got my attention. The person in question is Randall Alajali. Yeah, most likely butchered that one as well. I'm on a streak today, Mo. An associated director of state affairs. She worked at the Electronics Frontier Foundation, whose primary focus is on state legislation impacting digital privacy and other things. She mostly talks about how it will affect America in general, but some stuff apply to Europe too. To read a few of her quotes, Discord have a big legal team, I'm sure, so there's no reason to comply in advance, especially for every user everywhere, when there are lots of different states and lots of different countries that don't have these mandates. Blue Sky recently decided to comply with Mississippi law, and they were able to do that for that one state. If they could figure out a way to follow the law in specific states and countries without throwing everyone else under the bus, then so should Discord. Yeah, if Blue Sky decided to take the lazy route too, they would also be in hot waters. Not only that, but how did a smaller website manage to find a way to isolate it to an American state? But fuck it, Discord can't be asked to do it only for the UK and Australia. Selling personal data is a good incentive. But that's just my tinfoil hat theory. Anyways, Discord could have easily fought for its users and got free brownie points, but actually getting the trust of your users to buy your extra doodads for your app is apparently too hard for them. At this point, they probably won't even get people to stop canceling their Nitro subscriptions if they actually defended them. Hell, their legal team could have argued how dangerous that type of information is to be floating around the internet, since once it's online, it's practically impossible to get it off from there due to the sheer size of the internet. And mind you, this doesn't include just anything that you can just put in a web search engine like Google, DuckDuckGo, and so on. We're talking dark web, deep web. So yeah, there's a lot more on the internet than what these retards know. But anyways, not only that, but they're also using the UK for experiments, quote unquote, even though they promise the age verification data will never leave their phones. They also claim that documents will be blurred with the exception of the photo and the date of birth. But again, they lie once, they can lie again. They'll also be using a mix of AI and human review in order to verify those IDs. Thanks, Chief. Can't wait to be flagged as a 13-year-old when I provide an ID that has a photo from 7 years ago. Hell, if you don't think providing your ID to Discord is a bad idea, let me remind you that hackers recently exposed parts of Discord's age verification system by, and get this, and take this with a grain of salt, this isn't my field of expertise, discovering that the front-end code of their partner persona was publicly accessible on the open internet. Meaning, anyone with the technical know-how how to access that part of the front-end code can get to it, and it was done without breaking the law. This was discovered by VM Funk, MDL CSGO, and Tizurwa F. That's how we pronounce this. I mean, doubt that I ever pronounce anything. I doubt that I ever pronounced any name or handle right so far in this episode. But those three have made a blog post explaining it. It's quite long, so if you're interested in how they did it, go check it out. But anyways, that's all for this week. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.